love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. What's going on out there, YouTube land and also social lands? Welcome to an all-new video. In this video, we're doing a movie review of a new film that just came out this past weekend, and it's an all-new horror film from a YouTuber, so we're going to get right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms, which is X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Patreon. Pretty much post on all these pretty exclusively, so definitely check them out. As always, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all-new video. So like I was saying before, we're doing a movie review of a new film that just came out this past weekend, and it's a all-new movie from a YouTuber called Obsession. Yeah, Obsession, yeah. So Obsession's an all-new horror film from the likes of a YouTuber who has become pretty popular over the last few years, producing and doing small little shorts on YouTube. This is his first major film, and I think that, for, a first-time outing, this was done really well. If you're a big psychological horror film, supernatural horror film fan, stuff like that, this is a movie for you. This movie definitely goes in the depths of all types of different types of genres to the horror franchise and, the horror world, really. And if you think about it, there's a lot of things that go on in this film that, you could really kind of pick and point at certain films that kind of inspire it. I mean, there's a lot of, Hellraiser feel to this. There's a lot of, Death Wish, or not Death Wish, but Wishmaster feel. You get a lot of, feels of, Evil Dead and so forth and stuff like that. That type of, any type of genre of horror film, I feel, really fits into what Obsession is about. And, Obsession is one of those films that it really surprisingly, it was actually a good film. Was there things about it that could have been better? Most definitely. Is there things about it that were fantastic? Most definitely. But overall, I think that Obsession as a film in whole was actually really decently done. And, I think that there's some things that I would have done different a little bit, but other than that, I think that the film itself, I really enjoyed. I was really entertained by it. I thought it was a really great horror film that, took things to a whole new level. Plus, that's why I thought it was a really nice, refreshing take on taking something that we kind of seen before in different films, but they did a good job of changing it, making it different, making it something fresh and new. And I think that that was fun and what made this film very enjoyable. Now, from a YouTube standpoint, I feel that this film definitely felt like a feature-length film. It didn't feel like a short or anything like that, even though, majority of the stuff that the director of this film did has been kind of YouTube short type of stuff. But overall, I think that what he did on YouTube translated very well into this feature-length film that ended up being a really surprise hit, I think. And being a film that was only made for $750,000, I think that they did a really fantastic job. And I think that, it making so much money at the box office, too, is showing that horror can evolve. Horror can be just as good still, and that horror is a genre that will always be something that people are looking for. And that's what I love about the horror film, is that you can really make any type of horror film and people are going to watch it, no matter if it's made for $50,000 or if it's made for $5 million. I mean, horror film is such a great interpretation of things, and I think that that's what Obsession did. Obsession took several good things from the horror field and really pinpointed it into a really great portion and made a really great, thrilling, I think, topic, a really great idea that really expanded really well throughout the film. And I just was really impressed with what they brought together with this film. And I actually, came out of it going, kind of thinking, it's not awful, it was good, but is it the greatest thing I've seen? No, most definitely. But overall, I still think it was very entertaining and definitely something I would want to rewatch, because I think overall it was a very interesting and very crazy outtake that this film ended up going with. Now, this film is none other directed by a gentleman that goes by the name of Mr. Curry Barker. Oh yeah, Curry Barker. Woo, Curry Barker, yeah! So Curry Barker, like I said, is mostly known for YouTube stuff. He started off doing YouTube shorts and stuff like that, along with his writing partner, and they basically created several different things over the years that became super popular, and he got recognized and started getting recognition and ended up getting to be able to make this full-length film. And I think Curry has a really great idea of what he's doing, and I think he has a really great thought process on horror films, and I'm liking the direction he's taking it and what he's doing with it. I think that he did a great job with Obsession. I think he really knocked it out of the park. I think he gave us a really great storyline. I think he gave us an interesting take and kind of a great moral dilemma as well that made us to think about, kind of the moral things in life. And that's one thing I noticed about the film is definitely it took us back to those days when, horror films back in the 80s, early 90s, I feel, really had a moral compass that was a part of it. And I feel that's what he brought to this film. He gave us kind of that moral sense again. And I think that was a really great take and good writing. And I think that he has a really great take on giving you just what you need in a horror film, too, and not relying on, crazy gore or anything, but also on the very psychological level, jump scares and all that kind of stuff. And he did a good job with that, balancing it out throughout the film. Now, if you haven't seen anything Curry Barker has done, he is known for making a film a few years ago I think it was a feature-length film. I'm not 100% sure. I do know that it was on YouTube, and I do know that it was considered like kind of his first big thing that really got him across the map and got recognized by people. And that, of course, is a film called Milk and Cereal. Yeah, Milk and Cereal. Yeah. So I never saw this film, but I have heard of it. I did look it up and to see what it was about. And overall, I think that the concept of it sounds, definitely interesting and overall. But from what I saw in just the trailer I ended up watching, it looks like it's, definitely something that was along the lines of Obsession, and that it was a decent film, and that I can see why he was recognized and why he was able to make Obsession. And I definitely think that it looks like it's something that could be very good, could be really crappy. It could be in the middle class. I don't know. But overall, from my understanding, Milk and Cereal is really kind of the beginning of what made him be able to make Obsession. And from what I've heard, a lot of people think that Milk and Cereal is a really decent film. And definitely something you should check out if you have seen Obsession and want to see more from Curry Barker. If you haven't seen anything Curry Barker has done, check out Milk and Cereal. See for yourself. See if it was worth the watch and see if it really does pan out to be associated with the great film Obsession. But like I said, I think Obsession was a really well done by him. I thought he directed it really well. Gave us a really fantastic horror film that was really entertaining from beginning to end. And I think he had a really great, even encompassment of everything that was in this horror film and made it very enticing and very interesting and just a very fun film. If you haven't seen anything Curry Barker has directed, go check out Obsession in theaters now. He did a really fantastic job. So this film has a really small cast. Few of the bit players that are in the film I had never heard of before. I tried looking up their film biographies on IMDb, and they really hadn't done anything that I had ever seen, and they haven't been in very much stuff. But I think overall the performances of the film were a great accompaniment to kind of our two main stars in the film, and I think that overall they did an okay job and made the film just as entertaining if it was just basically really kind of focusing on those two. But overall, I think that those that were involved all did a really decent job and gave us a really very entertaining film that really played out very well and was a very interesting ending and very definitely crazy thought process and kind of just how it ends up playing out. And I think that all the actors and actresses in this did a decent job and gave us really great performances. And I think that, overall, it was just a very interesting group of people that made a very entertaining film. So to start us off is none other than Nikki herself in the film, Miss India Navardi. Oh yeah, India Navardi, woo, India Navardi, yeah. So India, who I think was absolutely fantastic in this film. I think she was dead downright amazing as this character. Now, is she the greatest actress, as everyone keeps saying that this was the greatest performance of all time? No, I don't agree with that. But overall, I think for this movie, she did a phenomenal, amazing job that really worked well for this film. I think she played Nikki to the T. I thought she was really amazing as Nikki, and I think she did a really phenomenal job portraying that character and giving us a really great performance that I think will go down as a great horror film, acting duty. So if you haven't seen Indy in anything, definitely something to check her out in. From what I've seen in little clips I've seen of this TV show, she actually did a really decent job, and it kind of shined on how good of an actress she can be. And then, of course, the show called Superman and Lois. Yeah, Superman and Lois. Yeah. Now, I think Superman and Lois, it was not that great of a show. It kind of was boring. It was kind of annoying, and it wasn't a really that great show. But the character that India played in the show, which I saw clips of, I thought she did a really decent job. I thought overall she played the character very well, really did a great job of bringing it to life, and really shine on how great of an actress she can be. And also, I think that she did a great job in showing you the different types of emotions that she brought to when she did her character in Obsession. And I think that really shined on her to show that, yes, she has some really great acting chops and that she could deliver some really great performances. And I think that Superman and Lois was kind of the catalyst and kind of shined on what exactly we were, entail for to see from India in future projects. If you haven't seen anything, definitely check out her in Superman and Lois. See for yourself. See if you feel that star power was there. But overall, I think her star power was absolutely amazing in this film. She absolutely blew this performance out of the sky and just was so freaking awesome and so good in this role as Nikki. And she just really blew me away because I did not know that she was going to be this good in this film. If you haven't seen India and already anything, definitely check it out in Obsession in theaters now. She did a really phenomenal job. So that brings me to the next actor I'd like to talk about that was in this film. And that is none other than one of the bit actresses in the film, her father character that was in this film. And that, of course, is played by Mr. Andy Richter! Oh yeah, Andy Richter! Woo! Andy Richter, yeah! So Andy Richter, of course, you might recognize as the sidekick of Conan O'Brien on his Conan O'Brien TV show for many years that he was on TBS. You might recognize Andy from a few other films over the years too as well. A great comedian, just a really funny guy. And I was actually really shocked about seeing him in this movie. I thought it was kind of an odd choice and just an odd movie for him to be in, and I thought he did a really fantastic job with the little bit of role he got to have in this movie. And I just thought he really blew it out of the park and just was really fun, really hilarious, and just a really great father character to the one girl that's in this film that is also another love interest of our main actor in this film. And I think that he plays the character so well, and just kind of like, even though it's a very small part, he blew it out of the water and just gave us this really fun character that I think was a really great part and portion of this film, and just added really well to the great dynamic of this film. And I just was like, kind of still, I still think about it after seeing it last weekend. I was just like, I can't believe Andy Richter was in this film. I think it's hilarious that he was a part of this film. And especially in a horror film, and not like a comedy horror film, but an actual just regular horror film. And that just always cracks me up. But I think Andy Richter is so awesome, and I was just glad he was a part of this film, and he did such a great job in the little role he had. Now, if you haven't seen Andy Richter or anything, definitely a great film to check him out, and he plays such a freaking hilarious character. And it's a great film that came out in the early 2000s called A New York Minute. Oh yeah, New York Minute, yeah, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's film. He plays this like oddball character that's like kind of like an assassin, kind of like he's like working undercover and trying to get the Olsen twins and stuff like that, which was absolutely freaking hilarious. And he just plays the character to the T. He's got an accent and all this kind of stuff, which is freaking hilarious, and he just plays it so well. And he just really cracked me up through that whole entire film, and just played the character so well and brought the character to life, and just made this really fantastic impression and just a really great character that you just really enjoy from that film. And it just once again shines how great of a comedian he is and how fun of an actor he is as well. And I think that, because of how fun he was in that, and I'm sure a lot of people love that role of his. Of course, would get him other gigs, later on in his career. And I think that New York Minute is just one of those films that really is a really great little role of his that he really knocks out of the park. If you haven't seen Andy Richter or anything, definitely check him out in New York Minute. He was actually really fantastic in it. But overall, like I said, I thought he was a great addition to this cast. He was so much fun, and he just really was a great part of this film. If you haven't seen Andy Richter or anything recently, go check him out in Obsession. He was really fun. So that brings me to the final actor I like to talk about that was in this film. And that is none other than the main guy himself, the man that makes the wish, Mr. Michael Johnston. Oh yeah, Michael Johnston. Woo, Michael Johnston. Yeah. So Michael Johnston is another one that I really haven't seen anything of. This is the first film I've ever seen him in, but I haven't heard of his name before in anything. So I was like really shocked at like how this casting was done for this film. It was pretty much unknowns that were part of this film, and Michael Johnston just was one of those no-name people. I was like, I wonder how this guy's gonna do, but he actually ended up really impressing me. I thought he was really decent in the film. I think he did a decent enough job and very entertaining job that really worked out very well for the character. I think he played the character to his strengths and stuff like that, and I think that he played the character like like a modern dude would be. And I think that overall, Johnston did a decent job, working with everybody, and his relationship with Nikki in the film and all that kind of stuff just worked out very well and really shined at, like, they felt like a real couple or a real dude that was dealing with the issues he was having and the reason why he decided to use the wish to get her to be in love with him. And I think that, overall, Michael did a great job of bringing that to life, giving us a really decent performance that I think really worked well with, India Navardi's performance. And I think that they did a decent enough job that made it very realistic and very well done. And, Michael did an okay overall job. And I just think that, there were times that I felt that, Michael did play the character a little pushy-ish. I think that he was, kind of just a kind of a dumbass and that kind of deal. And it was just kind of, funny to see that kind of being played out a little bit. And he played it a little too well. And it was just kind of like one of those situations where I'm like, I feel he could have went a little more in this direction versus this direction with the character and this kind of stuff. And I just think he could have been a little more, better at what he was trying to portray and be a little more like his friend that was in the film and stuff like that. Whereas being kind of this, like, kind of repressed guy, which I get is kind of part of the character and why he needed to use the wish and all that kind of stuff. But still, overall, I think the character could have been written a little better and been acted out a little better. That would have made the film even more interesting and more entertaining, and just a little better version, I think, of that character could be. And that I think it would have worked out a little more better with Nikki's character and their kind of relationship, and that, in a sense, it would have been more like level. As I felt. I feel it wasn't very level when it came to Nikki's craziness and versus kind of his trying to be level-headed. When his level-headed was kind of more like, oh, poor me, blah, blah, blah. Whereas her craziness should have been met at the same level. And I feel like Michael Johnston didn't really do that with the characterization, and so I was hoping for a little more from that, but overall I think that he still did a good enough job that I think the film was still very entertaining and enjoyable. I just wish there had been a little better acting, a little better writing there for that particular character. But, Michael Johnston, like I said, I've never seen anything else, but he has been in things and shows that I have heard of or have seen. He was in an episode of Supergirl, the show that was on CW. He was also in the show 911. He was also in Teen Wolf, as well as a particular main character for a couple seasons I saw. And I actually never watched Teen Wolf, but from my understanding, he did a decent job in that he was pretty interesting in the show and really knocked it out of the park. And that he was a very interesting character that a lot of people enjoyed watching in the show. And from what I've seen in clips and stuff like that and different things I've seen him from, I think his acting and other stuff was a lot far more superior than it was in Obsession. But overall, like I said, I still think he did a decent enough job, a fun enough job in Obsession that made the film very entertaining and really well done. But Michael Johnson definitely is not somebody I would look forward to see in other films. I don't think he was anything that great at the same time. But overall, I think that, compared to India's performance, I feel she was up here and he was kind of down here. And it's too bad because I feel if they had met each other throughout the whole entire film, I feel my impression of him would be a lot better of that performance. Other than that, I think he still did an okay job, a decent job that still made the film very entertaining. If you haven't seen Michael Johnson, I think definitely check him out in Obsession. See what you think. Do you think he did a fantastic job? So what is Obsession about? Basically, the premise of Obsession is there's this guy and this girl who are friends, and he has deep feelings for her, but he doesn't know if she has feelings for him, and he doesn't have the courage really to tell her how he really feels. He keeps messing that up. And he ends up finding this novelty shop where he gets this little stick that says it'll grant you one wish. Well, after one of the times he doesn't, basically tell her how he feels, he wishes that she becomes basically dead in love with him other than anybody in the world. And then the rest of the movie unfolds where basically crazy things start happening. She becomes obsessed with him. And basically he has to deal with those consequences. It's a really interesting film. I thought it was well done, like I said. Really great writing, apart from, I feel, Michael's performance, I felt that his writing could have been a little better, but overall I think that the movie itself is a really greatly written, really enjoyable, really awesome, and I think everyone does a really decent job in the film and makes it very entertaining, and I think that it's going to be one of those films that down the road it's going to be fun and enjoyable to keep watching, and I think it's going to become a horror classic, and that people are going to be like, do you remember Obsession? What a great horror film, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. I think this film is going to become a cult classic because it just really is a really well done film and just really entertaining and fun. And a very interesting moral obligation kind of thing when it comes to, did I make the right choice by asking for this wish and that kind of deal. Just really well conceived there, and like I said, really great writing. If you haven't seen Obsession, highly recommend go check it out in theaters. I give this one 8 golden movie boxes up. I think it's really worthy of a film. I think I'll definitely be adding to the collection, and I think overall it's a really fun film. Like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out in theaters now. Worth the watch. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, also thank you for subscribing. And if this is your first time here, or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any older or newer videos if you might not have seen mine yet. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms, as I always say. But, also, huge shout out to my subscribers, Stu and Old. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Thank you for being a part of the channel. But if you really want to help the channel, think about checking out my Patreon page and becoming a member. Because once you become a member, you get access to all kinds of extra accoutrement you don't get here on my YouTube channel, such as outtakes, bloopers, suggestions of what I do next. And also, you get to pick a movie for me to review just for you every month. So, definitely something to think about. Help support the channel. It's appreciated. As always, catch you in the next one.